if you're relocating to Portugal, you've probably heard that passing a language exam is required to gain citizenship. It's called the CIPLE or the CIPLE, and people truly dread it. A lot of people put it off for years, and the listening portion is notoriously difficult. I'm saying this as a language teacher, so it definitely is true. So in today's video, I want to give you my top tips on how to pass the listening portion of this exam so you can get back to living your best life in Portugal, which is what you came here to do. I have done a couple of videos on this topic already, one where I explain exactly what the exam is and how it works, and another that actually follows me when I took the exam for my own citizenship request. So you can watch those next if you haven't already. I also did a full live workshop on how to pass this exam. So if you want to access that, I have linked it in the description. Just pop your email in there and we will send that right over to you. So I was inspired to create this video today because I had a great conversation with one of my students, Laura, the other day in our live group session. We've been doing a listening challenge. So I'm going to do something that I have never done before on this channel and actually let you into our lesson so you can see exactly how it works. Because these listening challenges we do are an exact replica of how the CIPLE listening exam works, and that's why we practice them. So for my students, I give them 3 levels of participation, with level 3 being the hardest, and exactly what you're asked to do in the listening exam. So here's how I break it down. If they are complete newbies, they just have to do level 1 and take a really good listen to see if any keywords pop up that they understand so they can have a guess at what it's about, but really we just want them to listen along and see if they can pick up anything at all. For level 2, I ask them to get a pen and paper, which is completely essential for any listening challenge, okay? And they have to list out the keywords that they hear in order. What are keywords? We talked about this in a very recent video here about how to practice listening, but basically these are the words that you do already understand. My biggest tip comes here. Do not try to understand everything. Your brain will just panic and shut off. So focus on what you do actually know. Listen carefully twice because this will enable you to check your work and you will probably hear new things the second time around. Level 3 asks them to answer 2 multiple choice questions based on the text that you hear. And here comes my next tip. You have to be very careful because the questions will try and trick you. It's not as simple as saying, well, I heard the word cadeira, so the answer must be cadeira. You really have to have understood what was said and avoid the red herrings. Yes, they do this. They put red herrings in there. It is how the exam works. So we try to emulate that as accurately as possible. So let's go into the session. Pause here and grab a pen and paper if you want to do the challenge yourself. Those of you who are going to try level 3, these are the questions that you need to listen out for. So number 1, o Miguel percebeu que era terremoto porque A, a cadeira caiu, B, a janela tremeu, and C, o telefone tocou. Okay, that's the first question. The second question is, o que fez o Miguel depois do tremor da terra? A, saiu para a rua para falar com as pessoas. B, ligou a televisão para ver as notícias. Ou C, mandou uma mensagem a Carolina. So, does anybody want to raise a hand and take a guess based on these questions what this listening challenge is going to be about?
An earthquake.
Oh, Laura, you beat me to it. Yes, correct. A little earthquake. Those of you who
had one.
I panicked. I was so confused. I was like, what's going on? My whole room was shaking. So yes, we did have a little 4 point something here in Lisbon a couple of days ago. So that is what we are going to be talking about in the listening challenge, okay? So your multiple choice questions are in the chat. I am no longer sharing my screen, so you can't see the transcription. And I'm now going to read you twice the listening challenge. So is everybody ready? Pens and papers, listening ears, no panic, just listening, okay? So, esta semana, o Miguel estava a trabalhar em casa quando sentiu a cadeira a mexer. No início, pensou que era a sua imaginação, mas depois viu a janela a tremer. Ficou um pouco assustado, mas o tremor durou só alguns segundos. Decidiu ligar a televisão para ver as notícias. Os jornalistas disseram que foi um pequeno terremoto, mas não houve problemas na cidade. O Miguel olhou pela janela e viu as pessoas na rua a falar sobre o tremor de terra. Mais tarde, a sua amiga Carolina enviou-lhe uma mensagem. Sentiste o terremoto? Miguel respondeu: Sim, foi estranho, mas ainda bem que foi fraco. Okay, that is your reading number 1. And again, just like in the exam, you're now going to hear it a second time. Okay, so double check your work, even if you don't think you need to. Listen again. Here we go. Esta semana, o Miguel estava a trabalhar em casa quando sentiu a cadeira a mexer. No início, pensou que era a sua imaginação, mas depois viu a janela a tremer. Ficou um pouco assustado, mas o tremor durou só alguns segundos. Decidiu ligar a televisão para ver as notícias. Os jornalistas disseram que foi um pequeno terremoto, mas não houve problemas na cidade. O Miguel olhou pela janela e viu as pessoas na rua a falar sobre o tremor de terra. Mais tarde, a sua amiga Carolina enviou-lhe uma mensagem. Sentiste o terremoto? Miguel respondeu: Sim, foi estranho, mas ainda bem que foi fraco. So how did you do? If you did the multiple choice questions, write your answers in the comments and we'll see if you were correct. So what was Laura's question? Let's take a listen and hear my answer.
Just a quick question. So in that piece, what do you recommend how you handle like the verb mexer, to move? If you just have no idea what it means and you're trying to keep up with what's being read and not get hung up on the fact that you have no idea what that was and it was obviously important, like what do you recommend? I mean, just obviously there's like a gazillion verbs that could be used.
Yes. And the truth is, when this comes out, you're not going to know every single word. And so really the best you can do is do educated guessing. And for me, if I was looking at this and I could see that the response it had given me was a cadeira caiu, well, I know that I didn't hear the verb cair, but I know that I heard the verb tremer in association with the window. So in that kind of instance, it would be a power of deduction thing, and we would hope that the verb they're using in the text is the same as the verb that they're using in the question. It would be really horrible of them to use a synonym. So that's how I would handle that one. You simply have to look at what you do know. And again, you're not going to get 100% on the listening, unfortunately. Remember, with the A2, it's about getting 55% overall, which feels like a doable bar. So the worst thing that will happen in that instance is that you'll panic and your whole mind will go blank and you can't do the rest. So also see it as a numbers game. Okay, didn't get that one, never mind, next question. Okay, so just make sure that you can do the whole piece and make your best guesses and not try and aim for kind of perfection on all of them, because honestly, even me, and it sounds utterly ridiculous, another thing, the reason I said about the pen and paper is because for me, things go in one ear and out the other. So I was writing things down, and I remember on my day it was about an apartment this girl had seen, and she was talking about what she liked and didn't like, and I genuinely didn't remember that whether she'd said big or small, but because I'd written down small, I was like, oh, she must have said that it was small, okay? And that ended up being one of the questions. So pen and paper being your best friend, educated guesses being your best friend, and remembering that you're going for, I think there's 20 questions overall in the listening. So some of them will stump you, but some of them won't. You will be able to do at least half. So now you've had a complete walkthrough of the A2 listening exam. I hope it's been helpful to get you prepared. And if you want to check your work, let's check the transcript to see how you did. So, esta semana o Miguel estava a trabalhar em casa. He was working at home quando sentiu a cadeira a mexer, when he felt the chair shaking. Again, here's that formation that we were talking about earlier, Sarah. A mexer, shaking, okay? No início pensou que era sua imaginação. In the beginning, he thought it was his imagination, just like Jerry said. Mas depois viu a janela a tremer, but afterwards saw that the window was shaking. Ficou pouco assustado. This was one of the bits that I don't think you guys got. He got a bit scared, okay? Ficou, here's one of our uses of the verb ficar. Remember, to become. He became a little bit frightened, okay? Ficou pouco assustado. Mas o tremor durou só alguns segundos, but it only lasted a few seconds. He decided to turn on the TV to see the news. The journalist said that it was a small earthquake, and then just like Maf said, não houve problemas na cidade. It didn't cause problems in the city. Miguel looked through the window and saw people in the street talking about it. Later, his friend Carolina sent him a message. Did you feel the earthquake? Miguel responded, yes, it was weird, but it's a good job. Ainda bem que, that's a really nice Portuguese phrase, which I've talked about in a video called Confusing Phrases on YouTube, because it doesn't mean still well, which is the literal translation for that. It means it's a good job that, or luckily X, you know? So it's a good job that it was weak, okay? It wasn't a strong one. So in conclusion, I want to remind you that learning Portuguese doesn't have to be a boring tick box exercise to pass an exam. It can be really fun and practical and open doors for you in Portugal that you didn't even know existed. I strongly encourage you to find a course that you enjoy that equips you for day-to-day life in Portugal so that you can build your confidence and conversational skills first and then get equipped to pass the CIPLE exam as a bonus. This is how I treat it in my course, and if you would like to find out more about how to join us inside the Portuguese Pro community, please go ahead and register for my free lesson for beginners to get a taster of my course that is focused on pronunciation, understanding real life dialogues, and only teaching the essential grammar that you actually need. It's linked in the description, and I would love to see you there. I'll be back next week with more tips and tutorials to build your confidence and conversation skills in Portuguese, so I hope to see you there. Ciao for now.